And remember, do planning, because where there's a will, there's relatives.
Welcome to Alt Investing Made Easy, where we explore the complex world of alternative assets. I'm Roland, a securities attorney, investment advisor, and your co-host.
And I'm Sarah, an investment advisor and corporate attorney, and your other co-host. We'll guide you through real estate, private equity, and more, making complex topics accessible.
Tune in for insights that empower your financial journey.
Let's make alt investing easy, one episode at a time.
Welcome, everyone, to Alt Investing Made Easy. Thank you for joining us today. Today, we have our colleague at FBFK Law, Barry Resnick, here to talk about planned giving. Thanks for joining us today, Barry.
My pleasure.
Yeah, Barry, thanks so much for joining us. And I'm always jealous of anybody that gets to live in California. It's such a beautiful state, and that's where you're located. Maybe just tell us about yourself and your practice.
Sure. Practicing 51 years. Sooner or later, I'll get it down and maybe retire, but not yet. Probably die in my boots. Business tax, estate planning, make a deal, break a deal. I really act as a conciliaire for many companies. I sit in board meetings, and when the marketing VP makes a presentation, the owner or CEO looks at me and said, "What's wrong with that?" So I'm sometimes Dr. No. I've been introduced as a businessman with a law degree, somewhat of a deal junkie, involved in a number of different enterprises, both personally as well as with clients. So I'm a business lawyer with a tax bent.
Well, that's great. We wanted specifically to talk with you, to get to know you better, to give people an opportunity to hear about your background. And today we're going to talk specifically about this topic of planned giving. Sarah noted that, and we like to define terms here. We like to educate investors. So, Barry, could you define planned giving for us?
Well, planned giving could be during your life, where you take advantage of the tax laws, but also give to 501c3 charities that are tax exempt, get the tax deduction, and feeling really good about it at the same time. Also, you could do it in a testamentary way under your will or trust and provide for it when you fall off the perch. In estate planning, we don't talk about death. That's too final. I prefer to fall off the perch.
Move on to the next stage.
I've been here for 37 years, so.
Oh, yeah. Did he fall off?
He fell off the perch after 37 years.
Bless him. That was a long run.
Well, my kids were 18 years old when they left, and I have the bud for 37 years, twice as long.
Did he talk?
He didn't shut up.
Maybe that's the literal empty nest solution.
Exactly. You always have company.
You always have company, yeah.
A little messy, but little company.
Well, so are children.
So
Barry, you have a sorry.
Back to planned giving. It's really a function of giving during life or when you fall off the perch. And both you could take advantage of the tax laws, and it's a win-win situation for you both spiritually, morally, as well as financially.
Yeah, as we were getting ready for this, we were talking, and so frequently, as business attorneys, we're working with these really creative, hardworking people, that entrepreneurs starting businesses or growing businesses, and I think sometimes maybe they forget that they could still apply those entrepreneurial skills in the nonprofit context. And so we've talked recently with one of our podcast guests about starting their own charity, and it's really something that I love to talk with people about, because it really does give you a way to express your business acumen in a different context.
Oh,
I think,
definitely.
Barry, you have personal experience with that too.
Personally as well as professionally. I'll give you an example. I represented a 43-year-old refugee from Vietnam who, with his partner in college, roommate, developed a software program. And when they went out of college and went into business, after 17 years, they sold it for $750 million
Wow.
at age 44, 43. And he took a big chunk of that and he's giving it back.
Yeah.
He's giving it back and starting 501c3 charities, as well as giving to existing charities. Lives in a modest house. A real example of what, how many pair of pants can he wear at one time? And he's using that money for good causes. In 2010, I sold a company that I had started, a healthcare company, to a private equity group. And I took a chunk of the proceeds and started a private foundation and named our kids as the trustees. Kids and their wives, and they get together and a board of trustees, and they make decisions as to where the money goes. It brings the family together, makes us feel good, and it got a huge tax deduction at the same time.
Do you want to quickly, just for the sake of our viewers, we've talked about before with planned giving or charitable giving, there are some basic tax benefits to get from that, and I think we could list a couple, 2 or 3 of those maybe. Just for the sake of our audience, and obviously this is not legal advice or tax advice, but it is just general knowledge that you could explore with your own advisors. What is one main benefit of charitable giving from a tax perspective?
Well, you can deduct up to 60% of your adjusted gross income with a donation. There is a deductible. Under the new law, effective January 26, you've got a 0.5% deductible. So anything above a 0.5% of your adjusted gross income is deductible up to 60%. And that could be cash, and that could be in kind.
Yeah.
I was the chair of the Orange Coast College Foundation that owned a sailing base on Newport Bay. Still does. And we receive boat donations. Let's face it, the 2 best times in a boat owner's life is when we buy it and when they sell it.
When they give it away.
And when they can't sell it, we went to them and asked for a donation. They got a huge donation. We used it in the sailing program. And it was a win-win situation.
Yeah. That's, I think, really, remember, Roland, last year we talked about the option for in-kind giving and how important it is, because you can also preserve the value of the asset and, depending on the type of asset, it can have different actual practical utility. But even if it's a security, like a publicly traded security, that's also an option.
It could be collectibles, could be cash, could be securities. I remember when I was the chair of the Orange Coast College Foundation, we had a 77-year-old lady that donated $1 million cash, and she got a $300,000 income tax deduction the first year. And whatever she couldn't use, she carried forward for 5 years. So it cost her $700,000, got $1 million bang for the buck. It was a win-win again.
When I think, it's worth noting, too, that the 60% AGI limitation, that doesn't apply to corporate giving, right?
Correct.
So a corporation, an LLC, can give more than that if it wants to. And so that's an additional planning opportunity, particularly for people that own their own service businesses. I always try to, give through the entity, and I don't approach that level, but in any event, somebody that wants to give more than 60%, that would be a way that they could do it.
All right. And then in your trust or will, you can leave unlimited, which is an immediate deduction against the federal estate tax.
Exactly.
Or you could set up a charitable remainder trust or an annuity trust.
The way that it's set up, this is something else that we brought out. You can sort of make a decision about whether you want to pay the IRS or give the money away charitably. It's not quite that simple, probably, but it at some level that is the decision. And why not give money away in a way that you can direct, maybe have influence, like you were talking about your family foundation?
Yeah, there's also, donor advised funds. A foundation, granted I'm a lawyer and I understand the details, but a foundation is very regulated, a lot of filing forms, a lot of overseeing. For a typical donor, a donor advised fund may be more appropriate. And that just gives you the opportunity of contributing in 1 year a lump sum, but not necessarily designating in that year what 501c3 charities get it. It could be held by the custodian, whether it be BNY or Fidelity or Schwab, and you could designate in later years where those funds go.
So that's how the donor advised fund works, is that as long as the funds are held by a custodian rather than under your own control, then you still can put the money away and then get that deduction.
Yeah, and while it's being held, the custodian corporate is investing it. They're charging the fee. They love these donor advised funds. They're also called DAFs, the acronym DAF. And, ours, we have a donor advised fund at BNY, which is BNY Mellon, now BNY, and is growing. And that growth goes to the charity instead of my taxable estate.
Right. I've heard of people using them also for example, if you're from a certain background, maybe a country, for example, then you can allocate those funds and then use them for projects specific to your interests, really. But in this particular case, it was doing some micro type of lending into small businesses in Colombia, which I think, for example, micro lending was proven in Bangladesh to be a very effective way of helping women come out of poverty and take care of their families. And so that version of micro lending into small enterprises in Colombia was what this particular fund was focused on. But it was interesting because there's a large diaspora of successful people of Colombian origin that wanted to put something into that. So it started off as an individual project for one person, and through the word of mouth through the community became something of a larger exercise. And I think that's another thing, is that what's interesting about your work or the work of anyone who does work in the nonprofit space or help people set up donor advised funds, whatever it is, you can, once the word gets around, there's a lot of momentum that can get behind these. And that's why I think it's important, why we like to talk about it here, Barry, is because a lot of people that have a lot of entrepreneurial energy and start building their wealth very conscientiously, need to know about this other side of things, and that you have options that you can have more control of. You can have options that you can align with your interests. It's not only through the big charities that are out there that you need to give. And then you can get, if you want to spend the money on it, you can either make your own proprietary nonprofits, really, or foundations. I mean, I think there are different ways to go about doing that depending on the level of complexity that you want to get into.
The IRS has a form, an EZ form. If you want to start a charity, You incorporate a nonprofit in the state you
Mhm.
reside in. Very simple process. And then you file the EZ form if you're projecting you're going to raise 50,000 or less. And the approval process, it takes 45 to 60 days, and you're a nonprofit. I mean, you're still overseen by the AG in the state and the IRS, and you don't want to do anything untoward, but it's an easy thing to set up. When you talk about Colombian and helping and having a passion,
Mhm.
my mother's side of the family is Romanian.
Mhm.
And I remember 27 years ago, I set up 2 appointments in my office. One was with a mortgage broker that was introduced to me by the president of a mortgage company.
Hmm.
And after that was the founder of the Free Wheelchair Mission, a new organization where he provides wheelchairs to people that are on the ground in developing countries.
Mhm.
So I meet with the young lady, the mortgage broker, and we're talking, trying to understand each other. And I told her my heritage was Romanian half, and she's Romanian. And do you go back to Romania? I go back twice a year to help the people. I'm fortunate to be in America. I make good money, and I go back and I help the poor. And I said, oh, really? It just so happens I have a meeting with someone I'd like you to meet. So she stuck around. I met with Don Schoendorfer, the founder of Free Wheelchair Mission. And I'll give you the backstory of that, how he started it. And I said, Don, I'd like you to meet so-and-so. And before you knew it, within 2 months, we had a shipment of 550 wheelchairs to Romania.
Oh, wow.
In November. Now, remember, they're plastic lawn chairs, and in November, it's cold in Romania. And they took the container, emptied the wheelchairs, and with blowtorches, they're putting them together to soften the plastic, to put the axles in. It was the first shipment to Romania. Serendipity.
Yeah, that's amazing. You want to tell us more about that particular organization? Because I know that you are very involved with it still.
Well, since the meeting with Donnie, it just started it. My wife and I have been very involved. I represent the entity, and we're donors, and it's a Christian organization. I'm Jewish, but we certainly believe in the goal, and that's get people off the ground and get them to be income generating and build self-esteem. Don and his wife, Lori, 26 years ago, were in Morocco on vacation, very Christian, driving around, and they see someone crawling on their knuckles, cardboard under their legs because they were paraplegic. They looked at it. They had an epiphany. He came back. He was a biomechanical engineer doing prosthetics, probably making $150,000 a year, doing really well for 26 years ago. PhD from MIT. He goes to Home Depot, buys 10 plastic lawn chairs, goes in his garage, retrofits them with axles and mountain bike wheels, and goes to Tijuana, Mexico that weekend and hands them out.
Oh,
That's
wow.
how it started.
That's great.
I met him within the first year, became very close. 25 years later, they've donated 1.5 million chairs to within 48 countries.
That's amazing.
Containers of 550. They're now on the Gen 3 or 4 of the wheelchair. They generate probably 11, 12 million donations per year.
Wow.
Lori, his wife, passed away about 6 years ago. We're very close with them. And Meryl, my wife, would drive her to the City of Hope. She knew it was incurable. And they would talk about, if you're around, what would you have liked to done? Said, Lori said, I got them off the ground. I would like to educate them.
Yeah.
Dad and I both got scholarships. So Meryl and I started Lori Scholars. And we worked in conjunction with Free Wheelchair Mission. And we provide scholarships. So, if an entrepreneur wants to do something, you should do something you have a passion for. And, go to the website, Lori Scholars. It just warms your cockles to see what $600 scholarship or $1,100 scholarship, either for vocational school or university, can do to not just one person, but to families.
Yeah. Yeah. And by the way, we'll put the contact details for both organizations in the show notes. So.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Well, Barry, it was interesting when we had the chance to speak about your involvement with the wheelchair mission, because also along with that was had an extensive opportunity to travel globally for work. And I don't know if it's related to your work at large. I think it is, but also specifically you mentioned in the context of your work with that organization. And it's nice because you're one of the first people that I've encountered here in the U.S. has traveled pretty extensively in India, as I have. And it was nice to hear that you had positive experiences in India.
Yeah. When they say it's a small group that you're going to present to, I'm thinking in the U.S. it's 10 or 20. When I get to India, there's 2 groups of 250.
I know.
It's all relative.
Yeah, we had a small wedding of 200 people. It was tiny by Indian standards.
Right.
And I was still overwhelmed. But anyway, well, listen, Barry, something I'd be really interested to, I think it's fairly obvious. You've said why you contribute to charitable organizations, but just for you personally, it sounds like you have really an internal code that you follow. I assume that applies across your life. I'd be interested, to hear about it. You've got this, you just dropped in there that you sold a healthcare company. Well, not everybody has time to practice law full time and build a healthcare company and then sell it. So it sounds like you quite the entrepreneur yourself, and just be interesting, Roland, wouldn't it, to hear what kind of is your driving internal motto, or your personal creed, or anything that you do that kind of keeps you going.
I moved to California 58 years ago with $750 in my pocket. I was probably happier then than I am now, because my life is so complicated with 501c3s and FBFKs and IRSs. All I did was work, go to school, and take care of a family. Now I've got a lot of other things, but I'm not complaining. When we're dealing with, Argentina or Peru or Vietnam or India or Pakistan, when you look at it, it's a great life. No complaints.
Yeah.
I represented the founder of Great Western Savings and Loan, Adolf Slechta. Adolf Slechta was a Czech immigrant. He moved with his wife, Mary, opened a bookkeeping shop. He was an entrepreneur. He opened another bookkeeping shop. Then he bought 2 more. And then he put in 3 more. And then he converted them to escrow offices. And the legislation changed, allowing escrow companies to become savings and loans. He then built to 225 branches of Great Western Savings Loan, sold it at age 52, no children, traveled the world, his goal was to play golf in every famous golf course in the world. 52, he sold it to Lehman Brothers.
Wow.
Made a fortune at that time. And I would meet with them post-close. And I think he just liked talking to lawyers every once in a while because he was dealing with them so often. And he lived in Leisure World in Laguna Hills, California. Biggest house on the top of a hill. And I'd visit with them once every 3 months. And I remember sitting around schmoozing, and Mary said, Adolf, had you negotiated with Lehman Brothers for another day or two, you could have picked up another million or two. And that's where I picked up the phrase when he spun around and looked at her and said, how many pair of pants can you wear at one time? I'll never forget that. And that's probably what drives me and my wife with charitable giving. Because there's only so much. And, I deal in a very wealthy community, and I see what happens when kids get too much too soon.
Yeah.
So you try to temper that and balance it, and makes you feel good, and it's the right thing to do as far as raising children.
Yeah, I agree. I just had that conversation with somebody recently. He has amassed a lot of wealth in his life, and he's like, yeah, my kids, I paid for their education and they had to do something with it. Then later, I told them how much there was.
Yeah, I have a little niche in my practice. I mean, I don't charge for it. I do interventions for spoiled children that have never been said no, or spouses that are totally enabled. It's too much money sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Your services could probably be used in the Middle East. Sorry, Roland.
Yeah, we're attorneys and counselors at law, so sometimes we do serve in that role. And we've talked here before about qualitative estate planning and really getting at the why of you undertake all this quantitative planning to save money. But why are you doing that? And it really comes down so much to relationships that you have with your children and how you raise them and the values that you try to train them up with. And so this idea of being grateful for the incredible freedoms that we have here in the United States, the opportunities, and particularly these stories about immigrants that come here and take full advantage of these opportunities and then give back. And I think I'm going to adopt that. How many pairs of pants can I wear? I'm going to start thinking about that because I just have one on now. I actually am wearing pants because I'm in the office. It's not just a Zoom call, but I'm going to start asking myself.
They're not pajamas.
Yeah. But I'm going to start asking myself, how many pairs of pants can I wear at once?
Roland's more of a board shorts guy.
I would fit in California. I said at the outset that I'm jealous of anybody that lives there. So
Austin is a close step when it comes to at least certain things. Barry, I really, like I said before, I really appreciate that you're a member of our team and a resource to go to because I think, like I said, every time you talk, there's something to learn. And I'm also really just thrilled with this idea that you maybe can use a parrot as your companion after your children leave the house. Practice your estate planning talks on them.
Be careful, I don't make trouble with my wife.
Yeah, no. She probably appreciated the parrot too, I would imagine.
Well, she was heartbroken. We were both heartbroken. It was a member of the family. Roland,
Yeah.
I want to go back to a comment you made about quantitative and qualitative estate planning. There are a lot of estate planning technicians out there, but I think there are not that many that provide reality. They could talk about the technical aspects, the savings and the drafting. But do you really want to name one of the three children as the fiduciary who's going to tell their sibling, no, let me give you 3 examples that I'm dealing with right now in trust litigation or will contests where one of them was named. Sometimes, you need to give the human nature or the family dynamics in the estate planning.
Yeah. I think I just had that conversation with someone recently, actually, Barry. And
Yeah.
they agree. They have 8 children. Imagine how that's going to go if one of them's in charge.
Yeah, Uncle Joe's the one that should be able to say no to one of them. How much discretion are you giving to the trustee?
Yeah. Maybe it's worth paying for a professional.
At a minimum, co-trustee.
Yeah, exactly.
To be the tiebreaker.
Exactly.
It was a really interesting conversation, and really what it came down to is, I kept wanting to get these concrete examples. How do you structure things to prevent, the wealth being squandered by the third generation? And what our friend said is it's all about relationships. So we've talked about that. And then also the willingness to give away control is another thing. So there you go, the co-trustee, or having a professional trustee rather than one of the family members, finding that trusted person. And Barry, I guess you could serve in that way. I mean, that would be a way that an attorney could serve, right? If you're an attorney and counselor, you probably could serve as a trustee as well, maybe.
Generally don't like to do that. I will act as a tiebreaker if there's a dispute, so it would avoid litigation. And if someone's unhappy with me, so be it. I'm following the rules of the road that were set forth by my long-term client.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm doing that right now with a very dear friend that passed away, named me as tiebreaker. And there's 3 children, and one daughter has a husband, the other daughter has a husband, and they both want the Winchester 30-30. And it's breaking up the family. This one item.
A gun.
And I told them, guys, figure it out, because if you don't figure it out, I'm selling it and dividing cash.
That's a smart idea. It's funny how easy it is actually to let go of attachments to possessions you think are really important.
That's almost like Solomon. Barry, I'm pretty impressed. You came up with a really good solution.
Chop the gun in half.
Dividing cash. Actually, in my wills that I draft, I really promote a provision that if the family members can't agree on disposition of the personal effects, jewelry, clothing, furniture, and furnishings, they have 30 days to give to the executor a written, something in writing where they agree how it's split. On the 31st day, the executor is directed to sell everything.
Yeah.
And all the years I've done this, generally on the 11th hour, they suddenly reach an agreement.
Because they're not fighting about those things. They're fighting about their childhood, probably.
Exactly. A lot of history.
Yeah. Well, listen, Barry, we tend to go for about 30 minutes, so it's been really wonderful to have you on. Roland, do you have anything final?
No, that's great. Just anything that you would want to leave us with, Barry, that we haven't covered yet.
Well, I think, again, it's a win-win. You need to involve a charity you have a passion for. Take advantage of the tax laws. There are a number of vehicles you can use currently while you're living, also testamentary upon you falling off the perch. Go to a good advisor that talks about reality, not just the technical aspects.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, do planning, because where there's a will, there's relatives.
Need to capture all these.
Yeah, we've got them. We've got them recorded here, Sarah. We'll be able to refer back to this episode.
There's relatives.
New catchphrases.
Totally true.
So thanks, Barry, so much for being with us. It was a great conversation.
My pleasure.
Yeah, and we hope you enjoyed this episode, and we want you to consider your planning, your planned giving, and reach out to any of us if you need support with that.
And remember, everyone, take aim with your alternative investing strategies.
See you next time.